My name is Raman Kumar, and today we are going to talk about how you can migrate and protect your production workload running on Azure Disks. So let's get started by looking at all the migration and production scenario. Migration scenario are moving your workload from on-premises to Azure, moving your workload from some other cloud platform to Azure, or within Azure, moving your workload from one Azure location to another Azure location. Now, in terms of production, it's very important that you must protect your production workload from disaster. Now, disaster can happen due to earthquake, due to flood, or disaster can happen from something as simple as power failure. To protect your production workload, let's say you're running your production workload in on-premises, or let's say you're running your workload in some other cloud platform, you must replicate your data to Azure. And let's say when disasters strike, you can fail over your workload to Azure. Now, let's say you are running your workload in Azure. We recommend you to migrate. We recommend you to replicate your data from one Azure location to another Azure location. And again, if disaster strikes, then you can fail over to other Azure location. Another production scenario is production from accidental deletes. So we recommend you to take frequent backups of your data to protect your production workload from accidental deletes. Now, where we come into picture and how we enable you to implement these scenarios, or how we improve these scenarios. So we provide strong platform capabilities that is leveraged by our partners to build compelling backup and DR solution on top of these capabilities. And today I have two friends from partner ecosystem to talk about their solution built on these platform capabilities. So now let's get started by looking at new platform capabilities to improve your migration and production scenarios. So recently we announced the public preview of Incremental Snapshot of Managed Disks. Now, Incremental Snapshots, they are point-in-time backup of Managed Disks. They are independent from parent Managed Disks, and they are independent of each other, meaning that these snapshots, they continue to exist even when the parent Managed Disk is deleted. They continue to exist even some other snapshot on the same parent Managed Disk is deleted. They are always stored on the most cost-effective storage, meaning, let's say you have a premium SSD Managed Disk, and you are taking incremental snapshot for this premium SSD Managed Disk. By default, the incremental snapshot will be stored on standard STD storage, which is the most cost-effective storage, reducing your cost drastically. Now, these snapshots are available instantaneously for restore and copy. Unlike other cloud platforms, you don't have to wait for any background copy to happen before you can use these incremental snapshots. They are available instantaneously, reducing your RPO drastically. Now, let's understand why we call these snapshots incremental. Incremental because these snapshots store only the delta changes since the last snapshot on the parent Managed Disk. Now let's understand how we make this happen. So let's say you have a Managed Disk which is storing 100 GB of data. Now the first snapshot that you will take, it is going to store 100 GB of data, no benefits. But now, let's say before you take the second snapshot, 20 GB of data is added to the parent Managed Disk. Now, if you take the second snapshot is going to store only 20 GB of data instead of 120 GB of data, reducing your cost drastically. Now, let's take another example. Let's say before you take the third snapshot, 5 GB of data change on parent Managed Disk. Now, when you take the third snapshot is going to store only 5 GB of data, and you will be billed only for 5 GB of data, reducing your cost drastically. Now, another aspect that I spoke about in the beginning was that they are independent of each other. Now, how we make it happen? So let's take this example wherein you delete the first snapshot. So the system will move all the data referenced by the first snapshot to the second snapshot as soon as you delete the first snapshot. And that is how we ensure that these snapshots are independent of each other and they are like incremental in nature. Now let's talk about another capability of incremental snapshot, which is differential copy. Differential copy reduces the time to copy snapshot from one Azure location or from Azure to on-premises drastically. Now to understand this capability, let's again go over an example. So let's say you have a managed disk and you want to take frequent snapshot of managed disk and then copy the snapshot to another Azure location for disaster recovery. So you will take the first snapshot, you will copy the first snapshot as a page blob in a storage account in another location, and then you will create a page blob snapshot in another location. Now from this page blob snapshot, you can restore managed disk instantaneously if a disaster strikes. And now, subsequently, let's say you create the second snapshot, and now you want to copy the second snapshot to another location. Now, you have to copy only the delta changes since the last snapshot. Because you have to copy only the delta changes, it reduces the data footprint for the copy, reducing the copy and reducing your RPO drastically. And subsequently, right, you repeat this process wherein you just copy over the delta to another location, and that is how you set up your disaster recovery. So with this, we have come to an end for incremental snapshot, and these are all the benefits of incremental snapshot. I will let you quickly glance over all the benefits. Now, I would like to call my friend Shannon from Zerto. He's going to talk about how Zerto is using these capabilities to provide a disaster recovery solution on top of managed disk.
Thanks, Raman.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, everybody. So the first thing I want to point out is the whole feature that I will be demoing to you today is really about the partnership that Raman's talking about. We being the way that we work with no agents inside of VMs, we need Azure to behave a little bit more like a enterprise storage than a cloud storage. So if you're not familiar with Zerto, let me give you a quick snapshot here what Zerto does. Disaster recovery, backup, we can go to multiple clouds. We do migrations between those clouds. We orchestrate all of it, we replicate it, and then we have some advanced analytics so you'll know what happened and how much you're doing. We even have a phone app to allow you to see how your DR is doing on your phone. Okay, so why Zerto? The bottom piece there is the one I want to point out is the no agents piece because I want to build on that in this next slide of, for the managed disk support, Zerto's had this up through this version of where we have an on-premises site running vSphere. We're connected to what we call Azure Native. We've got a Zerto Cloud appliance you deploy from Marketplace. We go into Azure Blob Storage. The replication goes from the source site through our Zerto Cloud appliance stored in Blob Storage. And then once we want to do an operation such as a failover, a move, or a failover test, that VM's created, and then the disk are attached to the VM, and you got a VM in Azure, right? So that's part of the story. Remember, we're doing this without agents and VMs, so getting it back out was the rest of the story that we weren't able to do until now. So now what happens is we're using that incremental snapshot feature that Raman's provided and the storage team to where now you can go back out of Azure. One of the use cases Raman talked about, which now what we're using is we've got the VMs in Azure, they're running. I want to get them out to vSphere again for a fail back or a move out. And we're using the snapshots through the ZCA. And then when I do the operation, I can do the incrementals, know what's changed, and then take them back to the production site. Here's what it looks like in the portal. So we see, this is a bit of an eye chart, but what you're seeing here is these are all snapshots. And as Raman mentioned, we're going to, these down here have already been deleted. They just haven't cleaned up yet. There's only data in a few of these. So that's that incremental snapshot. It's only using as much storage as you need to know the differences. So that's what it looks like between what Zerto's doing inside the, in the portal. So now we're going to do a demo showing an operation that I'm going to create a virtual protection group with a bunch of VMs on that on-premise site. I'm going to use Premium Managed Disk when I set up the virtual protection group. So here I start it. You'll notice Zerto is a nice wizard-based interface. It's, no matter the platform you're on, this is what it looks like. I've created the virtual protection group name, which is a consistency group of VMs. I'm adding 3 VMs to it. I'm selecting Azure Site. I have multiples I've connected to. And then I'm just going to finish up this wizard. I'm going to choose the Premium Managed. I'm going to check the machine size and what series I want to use. And I could use a different series for production and test. So I could get a cheaper VM over here and test. And I'll finish this up, hit next, and complete the wizard. Hit done, and it's going to replicate. So fast forwarded in time, it's replicated to Azure. Now I want to move these VMs from Azure using incremental snapshot feature underneath the hood to get it back to vSphere. So I'm going to do a move operation. I'm going to select the VMs that I want to go back via VPG. And just, again, using a nice friendly wizard, I'm reverse protecting it, which means as soon as they land in the vSphere site I'm going to, they'll start replicating back to Azure, because I may want to fail back over, and then I'll start my move. My commit policy is a Zerto feature that allows you to automatically keep the VMs at the target location or automatically roll them back in a specified period of time. So I get the VMs moved over. I'm going to go ahead and commit them because I liked what I saw when I did my testing. So I'll commit that. It updates it, and what you're going to see now is it's going through the promotion, and they're moved from Azure Premium, Managed Disk, and vCenter. All right. And let's go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay, so to visit us at booth 1401, and thanks. Thanks, Ron.
Nice job.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, so let's talk about another capability that we have introduced recently. It's called as direct upload to managed disk. Currently, this capability is in public preview. To understand this capability, let's first understand what is the problem we are trying to solve. So today, if you have to bring your VSD file from on-premises to Azure, or let's say you want to bring your VSD file from some other cloud platforms to Azure, you have to first taste that VSD file to a storage account as a page blob, and then create a managed disk. Now, with direct upload, you can directly upload your VSD file to a managed disk without worrying about storage accounts. And you can use this new capability to move large VSD file of more than 8 terabytes to a single managed disk of up to 32 terabyte size. Now, this capability can be also used for restore scenario. Now, let's say you are a backup ISV, basically providing a backup solution on top of managed disk, and you are storing your backups in your own proprietary format, right? Now, you want to restore managed disk from this backup, so you can use direct upload and directly restore your data to managed disk. And in fact, our backup service, Azure Backup Service, is using the same capability to provide support for large managed disks of up to 32 terabyte size. And very soon, our Azure Data Box service is going to use the same capability to provide offline migration of VSD file of more than 8 terabyte to managed disks of up to 32 terabyte size. Now with this, I'd like to invite Eric from Rubrics. He's going to talk about how they are leveraging these capabilities to provide backup solution on top of managed disk. Eric, come over. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Eric Chang. I've been at Ruber for 5 years, and when I joined the company, the things that we wanted to do were to disrupt the backup and recovery market, right? So give customers an easier way of backing up data, of setting policies, of scaling the software out, and also being very, very cloud friendly. And so we've been waiting a long time to sort of create a product around Azure that can allow us to take native snapshots and use our software as a service model to create managing control through a software as a service plane. So it has taken a little while for us to get that done, and we really value the partnership from Microsoft. But the goal here is so what we've built is really the ability to back up virtual machines in Azure across multiple subscriptions. So one of the things that we heard from our customers was that managing subscriptions was painful. You could have tons and tons of subscriptions, tons and tons of resource groups, and of course, lots and lots of objects and assets. So what we built here is, Polaris right here is our software as a service cloud. And what we've done is the ability to configure multiple subscriptions and then tie those to our SLAs. And what we mean by SLA is no longer do we have jobs and schedules and whatnot. Our goal is to drastically simplify backup recovery by using imperative nature to say, hey, declarative nature, saying, I want to back up this VM 4 times a day. I want it stored for 30 days. I may want to replicate this from region to region, something like that. And so what Ruber's done here is the ability to then take these VMs and protect them in Polaris. So one of the things, let me get to. I'm going to do a live demo here. So I'm logging into Polaris here, and as you can see, there's a bunch of metrics on the dashboard, and you can drill into each different regions, and we can see what on-premises-based clusters or cloud-based clusters there are. We can click on the clusters view. You can get a view. You can get a feel for how many clusters we have defined here. On the inventory panel, you can see what subscriptions we have, and on the Azure side, we have 6 subscriptions here. So I'm going to simply click on the view here, and now you can see all of the virtual machines tied to those 6 subscriptions. I can also just as easily select the resource groups, and then we can actually select any resource group or any virtual machine and simply just manage the protection. And those protections are, we assigned the objects to an SLA, and that SLA gets defined, is already predefined here. I don't have a ton of time to show you, but the idea here is that we can pick this particular SLA, and it's going to go for every 4 hours, okay? Now, if we want to drill into each actual virtual machine, we can drill into, let's say, this one here. This virtual machine has been backed up. The oldest snapshot is on the 22nd of August. We can actually look at the years and see how many backups we have. You can see the green dots here. On the month, we can see that today there's 2 snapshots, and there are one at 3 a.m. and one at 11 a.m. And then we can simply recover, and when we go to recover that, we have 2 different options for recovery. We have the ability to actually export to a port in time, or we can actually do a restore, okay? So when we do the restore, we also have the option to restore all the tags or not. So the idea here is to make Azure, to back up Azure VMs using these managed APIs, making it very, very simple for clients to do that. Making definition to be, our goal really was from a management perspective to create a very simple way to manage all of your subscriptions, all your assets. Last thing, we have some plans on using the direct upload APIs to do some on-premises based work and from Azure site to site. So more to that to come, I think, later, but we are intending on using the direct upload APIs to ease the pain of moving data from area to area. Thank you.
Perfect. With this, we have come to an end. Thank you. Thank you for hearing, and we are like, there's a booth, Azure Disk and File booths, just across 39 booths. If you have any questions, come over. We'll definitely clarify your questions. Thank you.